Hey, good afternoon. I'm back. It is still Wednesday, March 5th. I am still Rob, that developer dad, and we are still working on our PixelArt image editor using just plain old JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. But the focus of this current stream and playlist is to really illustrate how I've learned to work with an AI coding assistant. I'm using Visual Studio Code with the $10 a month GitHub Copilot Pro plan. And the AI model that I'm using to drive all of this stuff is Claude 3.5 Sonnet. So without further ado, I'm going to dive back into the screen share. We can see that I've started creating a scribble face. I'm just filling in some teeth. I'll keep doing that. Let's just place some pixels for the teeth. And this morning, or in the prior segment, or prior working session, I kind of ran into some problems with getting the image data saved out to a PNG. And it didn't work out real well. It kind of broke a whole lot of stuff. And I spent most of the stream troubleshooting and fixing that problem rather than actually getting functionality put into place. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of outlining the black or the black stuff on the image with sort of a yellow line so that it'll show up when I export this as a PNG better than it does if I just have black lines coming out, because I'm running my Mac in dark mode, and transparent PNGs with just black lines don't show up real good. So I'm just adding a little bit of color to this, and I'm going to go ahead. I've already changed the name of the image to Scribble Face. You can see that up in the preview Scribble Face tag that I added above the preview, and this is a real-time actual sized view of what the resulting PNG is going to look like. So let's go ahead and export it. And you can see the animation. It popped down into my downloads folder. I'm going to open it up. And there we have it. And we can actually get some information about this file. We can see that it is 64 by 64 pixels. Our DPI is 72 pixels per inch. And the file size on disk is about 1 kilobyte. So 1,090 bytes. We've got a ton of color information in here. All good. So the next thing I want to do is I want to be able to save the data that feeds these canvases and the palette. So let's start focusing in on that. And for that, we're going to use this Export JSON button. And it's not doing a darn thing because we don't have any code behind there. So we've got our preview canvas view model right here. That's fine. Image manager view. We've got our image manager view. We don't need the editor view or any of these CSS files anymore. We've got our event bus. Now, I believe our save state button that goes to this .view model, export as JSON. We pass the file name. All right. And as a matter of fact, we could probably get rid of that file name. So let's 86 that parameter. And let's come out to the definition on this, if it'll take us there. Nope, I actually have to go up to the view model. And we don't have any JS docs. Hey, Claude, do me a favor and update image manager view with JS doc comments to make it easier to navigate between the JavaScript files and classes, please. First thing we're going to do is we're going to add some JS docs to the image manager view file. There's that, and unfortunately we lost my doodle, because that happens when we repaint. Here we go. You still thinking, buddy? Nope, looks like we're good. So I'm going to tell it to go ahead and apply that suggested update to my file. And what that's going to get me is an easier time in the actual UI here, or in the actual IDE. So let's accept these changes. Now, I don't know if I will be able to, hey, Erkamus, how's it going? I don't know if I'll be able to go to export as PNG directly. Nope. But I can at least go to the definition of the view model, and I can right-click, go to definition on the class. No definition found for image manager view model. That's fine. Whatever. We'll just go there. I am cooking on this, buddy. I am continuing to work on my silly little bitmap editor. As you can see, now I got to add some more trunk because that's not showing up real good. I'll make that trunk nice and thick. How about that? Here we go. Now we got to add, you know what? I want a darker green. So I'm going to update B. I'm just going to add some darker stuff in this blue. And you're about to see real fancy. Unless, you know, this change got broken somewhere along the way. But I think it should be okay. So I'm just scribbling in. All right, and I ain't never seen a navy blue tree. So what I'm gonna do is come in here and go, no red, let's say 96 drops of green paint, take all the blue out, and boom. Yes and no. Yes and no. I have a bit of a crazy dream of one day being able to build an old retro style dungeon explorer type thing, kind of like what we had with the old SSI gold box games like Eye of the Beholder and stuff like that. Whereas when I'm running a D&D session, as the party is exploring a dungeon, I'll have created an actual map with tiles and stuff like that, and I've got an actual map runner JavaScript app component in another folder. So as I'm running my session, I can actually have a view of what the party sees as they're exploring the dungeon or whatever area. So I'm going to call this image Scribble Tree. And you can see that the preview, we see that it's now called Scribble Tree. I'm going to export the PNG. And I can actually load it up in preview. Here it is. There's my little 64 by 64 Scribble Tree. And we can get the info on it, and it's still about a kilobyte. So that's okay. Hey, what's up, C Films? So for Export JSON, because I'm going to want to save the data and bring them back in. Loading a PNG into this and then deconstructing it and deriving the palette and all of that stuff is going to be a giant pain in the neck. I'm not going to bother with that. What I'm going to do for multiple editing sessions is instead give people the ability to export this image as an actual file. And that's what we're going to start working on right now. So, Image Manager View. We need to go to the Image Manager View model right here. So here's update file name. And here's export as JSON. We're not going to take the file name in anymore. Const file name equals, and we're going to backtick. And we'll just export it as a JSON file. And I don't want to stringify this .image state. Const JSON data equals the project's going pretty good, man. Apple I, create a new anonymous object here. We'll start adding properties in a second. Okay, that's the correct syntax. Good. All right. So, metadata equals this dot image state dot metadata. And what's this mean? Yes, I do mean to use a colon because we're going to be going to not metadata, metadata. I am indeed learning a ton with this project. I have never considered myself to be fluent with JavaScript. Luckily, for me, Claude Sonnet is much more fluent in JavaScript than I am. Palette is, we're going to pass in the palette. Now, I'm going to want to inspect this stuff in a minute. And pixel map is this dot image state dot pixel map dot. I want to take a look at the definition on this guy. It's not going to tell me. I didn't start my programming career with JavaScript. I started my programming career with Visual Basic way back in 2001. And then from there, I jumped to C#. And I've picked up a little bit of JavaScript here and there along the way, usually just enough to get done what I want to get done. Okay, here's my image state. Okay, and here's pixel map. And all we really care about is the pixels. So we're going to come back out to the image manager dot pixels. Data type application JSON. And now JSON URL, create object URL, We'll do all of this stuff. Click. Okay. Now, there's a couple of things going on here in my export methods that I do not like. So I've got my create and download PNG file. Here we go. Document.body.append child, document.body.remove child. Okay. Apple I think we need to add better cleanup code in here to remove our temporary link from the DOM once the file download is complete. Do it. Here we go. And then I'm going to actually pop open the AI chat. Quick question. In the Export PNG and Export JSON methods, we're calling document.createElement a couple times. What happens to those variables when we fall back out of scope? Do they hang around in the DOM, or do they just evaporate? No, the Visual Basic I was doing was not in Excel. It was not VBA. It was actually Visual Basic 6, way, way, way back in the day. So it was all COM and mostly sort of ish compiled code, but not really. When I moved to C#, we were going into actual compiled code. Same thing with visualbasic.net when I started using that instead of VB6. All right, DOM elements you create with document.createElement that aren't attached to the DOM or are attached and removed will be automatically garbage collected when they fall out of scope. Couple of things to note in the code. For export as PNG, up in here, the create and download PNG file. This pattern is safe, and we've got double clicks down in export as JSON. So here's export as JSON. Let's 86 the link.click. There. Don't need to worry about memory leaks here since I'm creating temporary elements, removing from the DOM immediately, letting them fall out of scope. Perfect. That's all I was worried about. Thanks. I cleaned up the extra link.click invocation in export as JSON, by the way. So something that I've noticed during this experiment, like just even over the past 3 days, is I still rely on Copilot and Claude to write the vast majority of this JavaScript code for me. But as this experiment has progressed, I'm more and more reflexively just going into the editor and writing the code manually. So I guess I am learning by osmosis. And I feel like my level of confidence with working in JavaScript has improved considerably, even over the past few days. And honestly, the results are fantastic. AI can really be a great mentor. I've found that having a very flexible view on how I work with it, even within a regular coding session, where sometimes I'll be the driver, like the director or supervisor or tech lead or what have you, and I'm talking the AI through what I want it to do, versus chatting with it as a research assistant, versus me doing the bulk of the work and then calling out to it when I get stuck or I forget some syntax detail or what have you. Smiley face. I'll export this as a PNG first. And here it comes in my, okay, so that's a crappy one because the black on black doesn't show up. Let's give him some bright blue eyes. Not red, blue. There we go. Let's try exporting that again. And we'll open them up here. And there he is. Here's my smiley face. Now let's try exporting the JSON. See what I get. Nothing, because I probably haven't hooked up the event handler yet. Excuse me. So let's see. Do I have a web inspector open? I do. Looks like I've got an error message in my console. Can't find variable file name. Of course not, because I goofed it up. I think streaming does sometimes help with finishing projects. Sometimes it actually slows me down a little bit. Okay, so it's looking for the file name variable that I was passing in. We're not going to do that. We're going to use, oh, duh, it's on the console log statement. I'm going to copy this, paste it in there, save. Now I have to redraw my smiley face. Here's my amazing pixel art creator. You know what? I'm just going to make a red square. Let's just draw a red square. Rename it to Scribble. Export the Scribble. Try exporting the JSON. Hey, we have output. Here's Scribble JSON. Oh, it's trying to open Xcode. No, don't do that. Stop. Silly goose. Let's just open this up in the Finder. Here's scribble.json. Open with text edit. And you can see that we've got a big, gigantic array filled with numbers. I've got my palette, name, basic RGB colors. Here's all this stuff. I don't see the metadata. So we need to iterate on this a little bit. I'll shrink downloads down to the taskbar. Close that. And I'll just pull this guy over here. Image state.metadata. Let's take a look at this image state construct. Make sure I've got the right property name on there. Ah, lowercase d. That's what I got wrong. Okay. Let's draw a yellow square. And a light blue diamond on top of the yellow square. And we'll put a red circle around it. Gosh, I hope I'm not scribbling out some horrible symbol that belongs to horrible people without knowing it. Scribble 2, export the ping, export the JSON. Where's me finder? Here's the downloads. I'm going to close the old Scribble JSON. Boop. And we'll open up Scribble 2 with text edit. Here it comes. We have our metadata, our palette, which is the definition of the 16 colors, and our pixel map. That's a whole lot of zeros and threes and stuff like that. And the JSON file is 8 bloody kilobytes. That's unreasonable. That's a very, very, very big array. 8,000 bytes. Excuse me. Save. Components. Here's lib. New file. Pixel map. Packer. Export class. Pixel map packer. Am I doing the JS doc on this correctly? Nope, I am not. Oh, what even? Rename pixelmappacker.js. Jinkies, Rob. There we go. Rename again. Here's that. Here's this. Save it. And pack pixel array. Pixel array. Oh, in JavaScript, we use hieroglyphics braces. Unpack pixel array. Packed array. Let's talk to Claude. All right, we are successfully exporting a JSON file with the image data. And I think I'm going down the wrong direction. I'm going down this road too soon. JSON file with the image data. We can export a PNG file with the image. Time to build up the load JSON functionality. Now let's take a look at this, and I want to talk out loud about what I want to do first. Load JSON and new image. I think before we start down that path, we need to detect unsaved changes and alert the user if they're about to perform an operation that will result in loss of work. We'll use this method for both load JSON and new image workflows. I think a small modal dialog with an "Are you sure?" type message and yes, no buttons should suffice for this. Let's add at workspace. I want it to consider the entire workspace here. Let's add a generic dialog host in the source components shared folder and set it up to receive the actual dialog content when we invoke its show method. When we invoke a method on that component with a show in dialog function, passing the content to render in it as a parameter. This is a big fat instruction to the language model because I'm talking about something pretty abstract. Help you create a shared dialog component. We'll want this to be reusable across the application. So we're going to create it in the shared, the code/source/components shared dialog host.js. So I'm going to go ahead and add this. Boop. And we'll add it. Oh, it's still thinking. I'm going to let it carry on with what it's doing here. All right, now. New untitled editor. And we are going to file, save as, and let's put it in the right place. Features, no, it goes into components, shared, and what's it called? Dialog host. Dialog host. There we go, we've got it. Save. Now, before I go much further here, I want to commit all of the work I've done so far this morning up to now. Commit. Just do it. I'm not publishing the branch yet. I don't have this in a cloud-hosted repository yet. All right, so we've got dialog host. Let's also create a new style sheet scoped to the dialog host. Boop. New untitled editor. Dialog overlay. Yes, a Claude hosted repo. That's clever. File, save as. And it's going into shared. And I'm going to change this to dialog-host.css. Here we go. Dialog host needs an import. Import dialog host CSS. And it's not actually capital D, capital H. It's lowercase d hyphen lowercase h. There we go. Now we can use it like this in the image manager view model. Let's come over here and we'll do one of these. Boop. We'll accept all of that stuff. We've got an async confirm action, blah, 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 message, primary true, handler null, return result equals, 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 yes, whatever, load from JSON, create a new image, boogity boo, boogity ba. Now, all right, this all looks pretty okay. I'm going to save and hit those buttons. We don't have any conditional code in place yet to check for unsaved changes, but that works. In this case, we're just making sure that the dialog shows up and has the content we want. So I'm going to save all. Boop. So far, so good. It's still on screen. I give this about a 25% chance that it's going to work, that it's going to actually show us our dialog the first time out. Oh, look at that. I grossly underestimated what's going on. Starting a new image, we'll discard any unsaved changes. Are you sure? Can I click outside? Nope. Yeah, JavaScript makes things like this ridiculously simple. Sweet. It's showing up. Nice. Dialog appears when clicking either load JSON, new image. Dialog could show title, confirm action, warning message, yes, no. Yes logs the appropriate console message. No just closes the dialog. Clicking outside the dialog should not close it. That's what I want to see. Okay. Dirty flag to track unsaved changes. Subscribe to relevant state changes. Update our confirmation checks. I don't think that most of what you said there is strictly necessary. Let's start by adding a has unsaved changes flag to our image state class. We'll default this value to false in the constructor. And where's my file explorer? Here we go. Pop down to lib, image state. And here's our constructor. This dot current color index, metadata. I'm going to just pop out the end of the line here. This dot has unsaved changes equals false. Save. Now, all of our image state manipulations are happening in the root pixel editor component, which lives in index.js. So anytime we update the image state, we can set that flag. This dot image state dot has unsaved changes equals true. Save. We've got subscribe to drawing events. This dot events dot subscribe const pixels equals change y to blah 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 equals change dot new color index. Okay. This dot image state dot has unsaved changes equals true. Boop. And I should have some palette events around here too. Yep. Okay, color picker. I don't really care about the state of the color picker. That can be transient. No need to update image state when the selected color changes. Image states unsaved changes flag. But in our palette events, we absolutely want to change it. This dot image state dot has unsaved changes equals true. Now, in our image manager view model, which is where we're doing all of our save and load work, oh, the file name, we absolutely want to do that. I'm going to go back to the index.js. Just a second. Whoops. No, stop. You goof. I am such a goose, yo. Let's click here. Come back out to index.js. And palette events, color picker events, drawing events, image ops. Okay, good. I am setting it when the file name changes. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Excuse me. Okay, callback image data. And I believe that feeds out to my create and download. So image data file name. Find local events. Boogity boogity boo. Doo, 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 doo. Where do I assign the callbacks? Here we go. Export as PNG with the file name. Okay, cool. So here's where the file name goes. Create and download. Now. Okay. I've already added the code to create the has unsaved changes flag on the image state, as well as the code in Pixel Editor to set that to true when anything in the image state changes that we'd care to persist. Now, we need to add some error handling in the export as JSON method. And when that process completes successfully, we need to set raise an event back to the Pixel Editor. And when the Pixel Editor receives the image data saved event, receives that event, it will flip the unsaved changes flag back to false. I could just do this myself, but I want to keep Copilot engaged in the process because I don't know if this is just a false mapping of observations or what have you, but I've found that the more I involve it in the creation of the code, the better it gets as time in a working session increases. I've noticed that it tends to be a little bit dumb at the start of a coding session. So it wants to add a whole new class of event. I don't think that's necessary. Let's come out to editor events. Image manager operation. Okay, so it's got all this stuff. Save complete, JSON saved, blah, blah, blah. Okay. have the right idea there, but let's use the image manager operation event class for this instead of setting up a whole new class of events. Makes sense. We can put the particulars of this event into the event data we send. All right. So export as JSON. We've got this whole thing. We're going to wrap it in a try catch. If errors, we're going to console.error. Let's do that. And acceptoroni pizza. Save that. Now we can go update the handler in Pixel Editor. And this goes in index.js. And doing it this way maintains our existing event pattern, keeps the propagation of types of events low, manageable. And now, back in the image manager view model, we can check for unsaved changes before loading or starting a new image. We'll show that we'll prompt for confirmation only if there are unsaved changes. Let's see what it does for us. I'll pop open the image manager view model file right now. We can close dialog host because it appears to be working the way I want it to. Here's confirm action. Okay, and we see that it's saying in both methods, it's kind of doing the same thing. You know, rather than you know what? Yes, it's kind of doing the same thing, but I was about to just reflexively start being a dry jerk, unnecessarily, I think. So let's accept. So instead of console log, let's just alert. Save. Okay, I don't have any unsaved changes. Loading JSON. Beautiful. Creating new image. Also beautiful. I'm just going to add a scribble. Loading a new image. We'll discard any unsaved changes. Are you sure? No. No. What happens if I say yes? Loading JSON. Beautiful. New image. Yes. Great. All right. Let's start fleshing out loading JSON because it's going to be a whole lot more complicated. Okay. Our unsaved change detection and confirmation flow is in place. Let's put in the code to browse for a JSON file. And pull the file contents into a loaded file object. We can't assign to the image state yet. We'll need to do some transformation first. And we'll let it think. And I think if I can get it to the point where it's showing the browse for file dialog, and this could get a little goofy because I'm positive that the browser APIs to do this are different from one browser to the next, to the next, to the next. Only prompt if there are unsaved changes. Create and trigger file input. Handle file selection. Target file content, loaded file, JSON parse. Validate loaded data structure. Blah, blah, blah. Console log. File input.click. Validate loaded file. Okay. Let's just go ahead and add this. Boop. Accept. Save. Let's see if it'll actually do it for me. Load JSON. Oh, well, will you look at that? Let's go to downloads. Scribble 2. Upload. All right. Looks like we pulled it in. Add event listener for change. Do. If not file, return. if loaded file loaded file dot length. I think that's the right thing. Save. I'll just load JSON. Bring in Scribble 2. Upload. I don't know that it actually did anything. So what we'll do, just before I break for the day, I'm going to come into Sources and Source Components. I believe, yeah, this is definitely in Features, Pixel Editor, Components, Image Manager View Model. This is Export, Confirm Action, Load from JSON. I'm going to drop a breakpoint right here. I don't know that I've ever written a JavaScript file upload routine before. Usually I've got a front end sorcerer to do this kind of stuff for me. All right. So I want to step through what happens when I click and select a JSON file. Well, let's just pop down here to Scribble 2, upload, and we're on our breakpoint. So const file equals target.files. Let's just step over that. Const file, scribble2.json, 8,495 bytes. It's an application JSON, WebKit relative path, blah, 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 blah. Step. File content equals await file text. And I think it's dying there. We have a console error. Invalid file format. I should probably just drop a breakpoint here. Reload. Cool. Load JSON. Come on, wakey wakey. Here's Scribble. Here's Scribble. Upload. And we have likely hit a breakpoint. We should have. Oh, that's right. Ugh. We tend to lose our breakpoints when we do a full refresh. So color picker, image manager view model. Let's run down here. Oh, here we go. We've got them. So let's load. Give me Scribble. Upload. Have we hit a breakpoint? We have not. What even are you doing, you silly goose? Excuse me. All right. This is where I become less and less enamored with JavaScript as time goes by. Because getting into the heavy duty debug stuff is not much fun. Because we're hanging somewhere in here. Async load from JSON. Structure of a loaded file. Array.isArray file.palette. Oh, array.isArray file.palette will probably not pass. But that's okay. I'm going to change the definition on validate loaded file temporarily. Now, file.palette image state. Let's come out here. Go to definition. Colors is an array. File.palette.colors. There we go. There's that. Okay. Save. And this is where I start having to dig through and start fight with the browser and all of that stuff. Let's refresh the browser. Load. Spin down here. Upload. And yeah, the browser isn't stopping. Oh, maybe it is. We've got our breakpoint. But it doesn't appear to have broken on any of my stuff. What's this button do? Does that get rid of? Yeah, it disables all breakpoints. Let's just disable them. Load JSON. Try it one more time. See if we at least get to our console error again. Upload. Yeah, it appears to be just hanging on something. All right. This is where the collaboration aspect of me working with the LLM gets really, really boring and can take an indeterminate amount of time until we get it right. So I am going to say we've had a pretty good session today, I want to say. And I'm going to try and get this as close to done as I possibly can between now and the time that I throw my hands up in the air and call my coding day quits. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to get back into the DM's familiar stuff because I do want to get the edit NPC capability at least started. And if I can get it actually working by the end of this week, that being tomorrow and Friday's sessions, that'll be awesome. Because I need to get a couple more production features tested before I go live, but I am almost ready to go live and open that up to the public. So I thank you for joining me and